Hey friends, today on this episode of Behind the Art Studio Doors, we are going to explore the newest volume from Thistles Biscuits. This is Watercoloring Our World. This is the second volume in their watercolor series. I was sent before for my review, The Wonders of Watercolor, and now I was sent Watercoloring Our World. We were going to go over all the nitty gritties, what it's all about, what you learn in this volume, how it differs, and all that jazz. We will also go over some of our updated favorite watercolor supplies that you can use with this volume for several different budgets in mind. So anywhere from student grade all the way to professional grade, and we'll go over that and some comparisons. And I also have a discount code for you for 20% for anything in their shop. I'm not affiliated, but they graciously extend a discount code to my followers. So stick with me, we have a lot to review. Grab that lukewarm drink, friends, and let's step in behind the art studio doors.
'Cause it's never too late to live what you say. Yeah, I know I'll be okay.
Welcome back, old and new friends. This is Arlene with Arlene and Company, and welcome back to my so-called creative life. In our series, Behind the Art Studio Doors, we really fully dive into our artist world. And if you know that this is a house of artists, so we absolutely love to infuse art into every subject, every corner of our lives that we can, and every different medium of art, okay? Not just traditional art, but everything, even from the culinary arts, all the things. So I am so excited to share this new volume. Normally I share this with you on the day that it launches or prior to, but life happened, hospitalizations and all that stuff. I didn't get a chance to do that, but hopefully now I can give you an even fuller look at this since this has been in my hand for a few months. Again, this was sent to me in exchange for my honest review. You guys know I am no stranger to Thistles Biscuit. I have been a customer of theirs for years, okay? I am not sponsored. I am not affiliated. We just adore them. Now, my discount code for their store, if you find something that interests you, if you look on my playlist for Thistles Biscuit right here that I will link for you as well in the description box below, or visit my Instagram page where I reviewed older things that they have, which are stellar in the country studies and roots of the earth and all that jazz, then you can use my discount code Arlene20. Again, I'm not affiliated. They just graciously extended a discount code to my followers. So there you go. Here's a gift for you. All right. So I believe it was last year. I don't know. I lose track of time. I shared with you the Wonders of Watercolor, and I'll leave that linked below if you're interested in starting here and then coming back to here. So there's going to be a total of 3 volumes. So let's go over the nitty gritties of all that and how this works, who is this for, and all that. And then I have timestamps. I always have timestamps so you can scroll at your convenience or whatever interests you. So if you're looking to see our updated, you're already familiar with this one, and you're looking to see our updated tools favorites for in the arena of watercolor, and I have a couple extra watercolor adjacent supplies if you feel like going a little rogue. Sorry, Betsy. If you feel like going a little rogue, that I will share with you. You can jump to that as well in this video. Now, know that there is specific supplies that are recommended, materials and all that jazz for you. Don't worry, she's not gonna have you like spending a bucket of stuff, and honestly, whatever you have is whatever you have, and you can still create beautiful art. All right, so who is this for? All right, so this is written with a beginner in mind, but even if you're not a beginner, I think there's so much richness and things to gather from here. So like I said before, there's going to be a total of 3 volumes. So we had The Wonders of Watercolor. This is Watercoloring Our World. And Watercoloring Our World will be looking at the natural world, the botanicals, or forestry, and tiny little critters. And Watercoloring Our Lives is going to be the final volume when that comes out. And that will focus on people, which I'm really excited about, and everyday items like clothing, food, drinks, hobbies, etc. So I'm really excited about that volume. I don't know why that one intrigues me the most, but it does. I probably do know why if I can think about it. So this is written with the ages in mind of 10 and up, okay? Now, I personally believe that there's a lot of wiggle room with that. So if you have a really budding artist or someone that can like follow these very precise step-by-step instructions, then I think with assistance you can even push that a little younger. Now if you have older kiddos, now there's some people that do this along with their kiddos. I don't think there's an age limit. Now you can make this last a semester, or you can go ahead and stretch it for a year. If you like, just do art once a week, or maybe every other week you do watercolor and you kind of switch off what mediums you practice with throughout the year. You can honestly make this last a year easily, or just condense it into one semester. So here in the table of contents, now first, no, you do not need to print this. Actually, there is things hyperlinked here that you can like look at their recommendations or certain things. So it's actually very beneficial for you to use this digitally. But if you've been here any number of time, or have been into my A&Co broadcast channel and heard me lamenting about certain things, you know I cannot process information if I'm just reading it in an ebook. Actually, I have a rule, like if I'm reviewing something, friends, you have to send it to me printed, because I cannot handle reading things just from an ebook. I just cannot. My ADHD brain just cannot process information that way. Condense little things here and there, yeah, but not like full on things. So if you're the person that needs to print it, it's just one booklet and you're ready to go. So not a huge expense with printing or anything like that. You can print at home, or you can just look at it digitally. So I want to share those tips with you along the way too. You have the introduction, and then here is broken up into sections of joy and simplicity, expanding your color range, symmetry and nature, intricate nature projects, and then the materialists and conclusion with this volume. Okay, and like I said, if you want to see kind of like the build-up, the assumption that you have some kind of drawing background foundation, not that you're like excellent or great at it, but like, you know, some basic art fundamentals in there, because you're going to be expected to sketch what you're watercoloring, right? You have introduction of Betsy and background, and a little story about growing up in China and her Chinese art teacher. You will be following step-by-steps. You're not expected to make it look exactly like it looks here. Now, I will tell you, especially like my daughter, she will go rogue. She will reinvent it and make it something else, but it just like is an idea. It gives her inspiration, and it gives us some techniques to work on and things like that. So even with an advanced artist like we have, I think there's so much to still gather from things like this, even when it's written with a beginner in mind. All right, so you're not expected to copy things exactly as they look. All right, and okay, so the first section, joy and simplicity in nature painting. You're gonna have an introduction, and in this introduction, you're gonna go over like the overview of the supplies, techniques, and things what things like are gonna look at, like as you see little symbols of technique, the color palette, and you have like everything visually explained to you. And this is what I love about this, because a lot of us that are gravitated to studies like this, we're very visual learners. So I love that everything is not just text heavy, but it's also visually demonstrated of what the instructions are and what she is looking for from you. We will go over the supplies, like I said, at the end. So I'm just going to skip over that for now, just so you can compartmentalize how you watch this, if you want to watch the whole thing, or if you just interested in certain parts. Notice a key at the top of each project. The number of paint brushes indicates the level of difficulty, 1 brush being the easiest and 3 being the most complex. And you will see that throughout. So you can maybe, if you don't want to start in order, you can use that as a gauge to kind of jump to an interesting project that is grabbing your attention in that moment. Or maybe you're seasonally minded and you want to make it a little bit more seasonal. You can go ahead and do that and look at the technique. So you don't have to go in order if you don't wish to, but you can, because then it naturally builds up in complexity. All right, so here, for example, is the first one, which is like silly wallflowers. And I want to just show you just a couple examples in the beginning, and then one in the middle and one at the end, so you can see kind of like a natural progression. Here you can see how she visually shows you what you are doing, the instructions side by side with the caption. So visually, to me, this is very soothing to look at. I do not feel overwhelmed, neither does like my daughter. My son, this is not the medium that he does, so his interest lies in other arts, but this is something that my daughter enjoys, and we had been really, because we're Waldorf inspired, really big on watercolor since they were very little, especially wet on wet and all that jazz. But when I shared the first volume, it had been a bit since she had really dove into watercolor again, and this kind of reignited her passion for it. And she's mixed also traditional art, but my thing has always been in the digital arts. All right, so here, like I said, you have the instructions step by step, and then you have the next project, and so go on. So let's look, and you see right here technique with this one. This is 2 brushes, so you can see the area of complexity of how it increases. So let's go a little bit. How cool is that? I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. I think I want to do this. I think we're going to do this next. Just because, and we're definitely not go in your order kind of people. All right, so this is expanding your color range is the next section. What I love about this is that you're not only learning the how-to, how to do this drawing, but you're learning some art skills and some technical art skills at the same time. So if this is something of interest to you, that you don't want your kiddos just to like how to draw this, but to know the technique so it can build on and they can grow from it and then create their own projects. Because when you give them the foundations and the tools, then they're able to build their own projects, and you yourself as well in collaboration can build projects with them because they have that foundation. So I do enjoy that you're learning skills and techniques at the same time. All right, so here we have midway point, and I'll show you. Okay, so here we have a technique that is 3 brushes. Poison Dart Tree Frog. You start with the sketch. I wanted to show you examples, with not obviously giving the whole curricula away, but I wanted to show you beginning, middle, and end so you can get a good idea of how this program progresses. And not only that it goes a little bit beyond just like your simple little skills or just, kid art, which is wonderful and great, but just kind of push them further, especially if you have like a middle schooler and you're trying to look for an elective. But again, even like ours, a high schooler. So this has been part of like her main lesson block with her fine arts credit for this year. So here, for example, you have that dark frog, and you can see the blending techniques here, and then how she chats with you throughout, like you're having a conversation with a teacher that is literally sitting in the room with you. So I love that. So the next one is symmetry in nature. Bring in your nature study at the same time and make this part of their nature journal, which is wonderful. Some beautiful techniques here. I know that my daughter specifically loved this one. If I can find that one, as she did, I would share that. The next one is intricate nature projects. You are increasing and techniques with the background, with the different blending, with the different brush strokes, and the shadowing and overlay, the mixed media, because you can use like little pinpoints and things like that. Like my daughter will use like an acrylic pen, sometimes a gel pen or something like that, and bringing in that mixed media elements. Here's one of the more beautiful ones that I just, something about a simple rose will always get me. Okay, so now we've reached towards the end. As you can see, this was 100, like just a quick flip here. It's 100 pages of instructions and projects. Like I said, you can condense this into, because you can work on the same piece for longer and then just one sitting too, especially if you want to build on with a more advanced artist and build a mixed media element to it. You can do it in a semester, or you can do stretch it out for a full year. So the materials here, they're going to be hyperlinked with suggestions. And here I will discuss this with you because this is something that she mentions she mentions all the time, and I mention all the time. And it's not just like, being a snobbish art person or things like that. But here's my recommendation. And there's a lot of great and beautiful brands that are still budget friendly, but not your cheap stuff. And the reason why I mention this, especially if you're like neurodiverse family like us, cheap cheap art tools, and I know, just listen to me for a second. Cheap art tools can cost more frustration than it's worth. And I love how she has always mentioned the same thing that I've always like preached for from day one, because, you know, they break easily. You lose pieces of your brushes into your art, and then you're like the child's trying to pick it off from the thing. And if they're a perfectionist, there's all kinds of stuff. Your pencil points are not erasing well and stuff because they're, you know, lower quality. So there is beautiful, budget-friendly, student-grade supplies. So one of the things that she recommends is just like hitting the mid-level, right? You don't have to invest in expensive supplies. I'm going to show you some expensive stuff too, right? Like if you're looking to upgrade, hey, I'm your girl. I will let you know what stuff we love, right? And it's very highly dependent on the individual. What I love, you may absolutely hate, and it's totally okay. What I love, you may absolutely hate. What my daughter loves, I may absolutely hate. And there's a couple of things that we do not agree on whatsoever. And it's always a funny thing. However, like I said, if you look at like middle of the line instead of like low quality supplies, you will thank Betsy and myself later, because the frustration, especially if this is something that, you know, they're going to enjoy and love doing, you don't want it to make it a frustrating thing because you're using supplies that are low quality, and it's just going to render a lot of frustration because it's not doing what you want it to do. Now, if you have like a 2-year-old, something like that, hey, whatever, dollar palette or whatever you want to do, it's fine. However, the cheap paper, you know, they're those cheap papers that buckle up and you know, like just disintegrate on you, but they say that they're watercolor and stuff, and they're not. So it's nice that she points you to things for various budgets, which she did on the first volume. So from beginning level, and it's things that, you know, are budget friendly and all the way, you know, up. And if you're ready to make an investment, or if you want to, you don't have to. Like I said, my daughter will pick up, even though she loves her Blackwing, obviously, she will pick up an Office Depot pencil and create amazing art. So an artist is an artist. There's one thing that like you must save on, like when you're looking at this, these are just tips. When you're looking at supplies, and you don't need to go crazy making a huge investment or anything like that. But if there's something that you have to like really save on, let it not be the paper. And this is the same thing that Betsy will tell you. So now I have a paper that is student grade. It's not my favorite. My daughter works with it just fine. It is well known, and it is extremely budget friendly. But when you get like these papers that, you know, are very low quality, they're just gonna, your child can work on something for a while and then it will just disintegrate. So just keep those things in mind, but she points you to a lot of these things. So you have a master list that she talks to you about, like, and then she breaks it down. So like under $15 set of brushes, under 40, under 20 paint boxes, under 30, under 25 tubes, and under 40. And yeah, they get up there. So whatever level you're looking at or whatever you're willing to invest, again, you don't have to go crazy. And then some other helpful links and extras, like water-soluble pencils, and we're going to be talking about a couple of those. So we didn't exactly go too rogue because she does mention it here. Erasers, washi tape, masking fluid, hot press paper. Hot press I find to be a little bit less forgiving, so I prefer cold press for beginners or even mid-range, and even professional artists that use cold press. But hot press paper can look pretty awesome, pretty rad. Rough paper watercolor journal, travel brushes, ceramic palette, and we're going to look at a few travel brushes and travel palettes and all that stuff as well. Empty pan palette, we're going to look at that too as well. And then she has recommendations on paper, paint, and then I will point you to some of the things that we recommend the same thing. But obviously here there is more of a list that is more comprehensive, and obviously you will get access to that when you purchase it. But we'll go over some similarities and things like that. And you know, we see a lot of the same things. So here are other items, and breaks it down again. I love how even the material tutorial list. It's a pictorial reference of it, okay? And then, you know, setting up your space and giving you those pointers as well. Second volume, the Watercoloring Our World art study. And this was printed by Hard Copy HQ, just to let you know. If you're looking for printers, I work with them and Watson Family Press. Watson Family Press, I do have a discount code for. It's in the description box below. But Hard Copy HQ, I have a lot of experience, really nice work, and I've been receiving like review copies from Hard Copy for years too. And they hold up. Okay, so to save on time, my daughter actually helped me out while I was in ballet. She did some color swatches with me, so we can talk about some comparisons and get into the nitty gritty. Some of this stuff I've gone into depth with previous reviews, and that will be in the Behind Art Studio Door playlist or something else, and I'll link it down below as well. All right, so let's talk about paper first. I have here some swatches, but we're gonna talk about paper first because that's gonna be fairly quickly. Now, this is a mixed media paper. Just here, talking about like saving some coins. Some mixed media paper, obviously this is not going to be as high as GSM, like 140 pound watercolor paper. But if you're trying to save some coins, you're trying to get a pad that you can use for multiple projects, not just watercolor, look at mixed media. And not all of them can handle the same way. Made in Italy. I actually really do love it. Bella does not love like sketching on it, but you know, is not really the best for sketching because, you know, the roughness of the paper. But as you can see here, we have some swatches and things like that. There is gonna be some buckling. So if you're gonna get some mixed media paper, perhaps try to find a higher weight, a higher GSM for it so it can hold things better, but it still didn't perform badly. So if you have like, you know, you need to like save some coins and you just want to get a mixed media pad just so it can work for multiple things, you can do something like this. So this is a new pad that we just got, and this is a medium tooth. So it's not, the tooth is like how gritty the paper is. So for example, if you're used to an Erin Condren planner, that is like some heavy tooth. It's very gritty. And then like a plum paper planner is extremely smooth. So that's less tooth to it. So this is like middle of the ground. So this is Fabriano. Again, this is not be my first choice, but if you're like looking to get a multi-use from your paper, that's something you can do. So for a student grade, and I know that you will see me knocking this every single time I do some kind of organization stuff, I'm knocking this paper. However, it is perfectly fine. I'm just a paper snob, and you guys know this. I literally review planners like it's my job. Maybe it is. All right. So anyways, this is what you normally see, and Michael's everywhere. Is easily accessible. It routinely goes on sale. This is your mid-range student grade that is gonna get the job done. This is a cold press, it's a heavyweight paper, and it does this job. Now you can see that this is 140 pound paper where the other one was 110. So this is gonna handle quite a bit more. This is actually a larger profile. This is a 12 by 18. I do like having these large ones for specific projects. And then this does this job. Just by like, you know, the experience and stuff, it's just not the one I prefer. But if you're just starting off, Kansas is your brand. You know, you can grab a Strathmore watercolor paper. I tend to go 400 series. There actually is a 500 series, which I really see unless we're at a local art store, in-store. But Strathmore is usually a little bit more expensive. So here the Canson would be like your starting point. What I would recommend for watercolor, and this comes in multiple sizes. If you have some coins to spend and you want to upgrade, and I will tell you, Betsy is the one that turned us into arches, right? I used to see these and then I was like, I don't really know why I would pay that much. And then now I get it. It kind of ruins it for you. So I'm there to warn you. So like once you use this for watercoloring, it's really hard for you to go. This is 140 pound. This is 100% pure cotton paper. It is luxurious. I will not use this to test anything out. The tooth on it is like, I think you can even tell just on the video. So that just like literally just takes in paint like no other, and it's just so beautiful. Now you can see that this had like 12 sheets, and it's legit like $20, I want to say. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. I hardly ever see these on sale. But if you want to splurge here and there, this is not where I would start, but this is the paper. This is the Mac Daddy, and this is actually something that she mentions in the curricula if you're looking for an elevated one. So let's go back on these colors and let's talk about paint. So you're gonna see that I have them arranged, or my daughter actually helped me by from least to best. And we vary in our feels about this, and we'll talk about that in just a bit, but I wanted you to actually see it for yourself, because my best may be different than what you feel is the most stunning to you. And these are just like some quick swashes. And then I have some gouache, and then I have some water-soluble pencils. So here is the Winsor & Newton that you will see like all the time, and this is a student grade. All right, so it is very affordable. It is a nice little travel size Cape pans, and she talks about all this terminology and things like that. So you want to feel artsy and stuff, you'll know the same goodies. It comes with a travel brush that extends. You will find everything listed in my Amazon store under Artist Tools and Resources, and that will be again linked down below. So you can actually extend like this, so you can paint on the go if you have one of those little travel journal art journals or anything like that. You can mix your paint right on here, so it works well. It is a very nice high quality student grade. Is it my personal favorite? No. Does my daughter really like it? Yes. Does she has other preferences? Yes, absolutely. But this is perfectly fine and more than enough, and it has a beautiful range of colors that you can mix and build on other colors with and go from there. And the nice thing about these is that we can go ahead and remove these cake pans and get a refill and continue to refill these without having to buy a completely different set. So this serves as a great travel one, so you can take it on the go if you're taking school on the go and taking it outside, you nature journaling or anything like that. You can take these on the go, but then they're perfectly fine for doing in-house, and you don't need a huge palette of things, right? Or a huge cake pan or anything like that, or a bunch of tubes. So this is one of the most budget friendly ones, and it is actually very stellar. These little cake pans will last you a freaking while. All right, so that is your first swatch right there, and we use similar colors except for when we didn't have the similar colors, and you can see it's very it took to this, and this is the mixed media paper. This is not even straight watercolor paper that we use, so the colors will behave differently depending on the paper, and that will take some getting used to. So if you I would suggest stick to the same paper, right? Because if you're learning or your student is learning, stick to the same paper so you don't have to relearn each time, because the colors can behave quite differently depending on the paper. So this is a mixed media paper, so it's going to look a little bit different depending on the paper that I slapped this on. So this is the Winsor & Newton, and these are the cake pans, the student grade. You can see it's just very beautiful, translucent, and it has a really nice wash on it and some nice defined lines. The next one is one that my daughter has had, not this particular one, we already replaced it it got messed up in a move, and after so many years we had to replace our koi, this is from Sakura, Japanese watercolor set. This is a student grade. Now this is another affordable option. Usually you can catch this for like 14-15 bucks at the most, depending on the colorway. I've seen them like 18 or more. If they have more colors, then it will be a little bit pricier. The cool and different thing about this from the Winsor & Newton is the brush that it includes. And also, you guys know how we feel about our Japanese tools and stationaries and all that stuff. So you have this type of brush where you can fill it with the water, because you notice here you don't, and we're going to talk about my little basin that you guys always see in the background for water that you can travel with, but there was nothing to put water in, right? So you notice that. With the koi set, you have the brush. Now this may not be your favorite brush to paint with, so that's something to keep in mind, but you can fill this with water, and this takes it in, and once you're mixing the colors and all that jazz, and then you can use the sponge as well. So this comes like a ready to go set for you to travel with, to take anywhere with you as you go. So again, this is one of our newer koi sets because we had to replace it after like 8 years that my sister, which is also an amazing artist, had gifted my daughter, and so we finally got another koi set. And then here you can see that on this particular one, there's specific numbers. So when you're replacing these cake pans, which you can also do, you can replace these little cake pans. You can know exactly what color. And if you're doing a different color, you totally can, but you can know what color you're looking for with that. So they don't have like that little individual little cake pan I would say, but it comes apart on this particular set. These come in several different sizes, several different colors, like even metallic, all kinds of fun stuff, and way more colors than this, so you can get a little bit fun with this. So if you have a little bit more wiggle room to work with, you can do that. So this is the koi set here, where once upon a time my daughter absolutely loved the koi set. It is not one of her top favorites now. I still really love the koi versus the Winsor & Newton. Now here you're probably asking why this looks much nicer. I just do. Again, it's just an individual preference. I just do. I just love working with the Japanese watercolor sets. All right. And then you can mix right here. All right, so that is the koi watercolors. Now let's get, oh, actually, and I don't have it. No, you know what? I'll do that after this. These are not rated the same way as we rate our things here in this side of the world, but these are the kurataki, and these are again Japanese watercolor, and they come in a couple of different options and sizes, not a couple, a few different sizes as well. And this case, actually, let me. And she hasn't done the color swatch. She usually does the color swatches on these things, but it comes in this really pretty kind of like gift box. And the cake pans are much bigger. So you'll hear these references, all kinds of stuff. And then you can see exactly what the color is. So if you want to just replace this, instead of buying the whole entire thing, you can just replace one pan at a time. These colors are rich, they're delicious, they're very pigmented, and I absolutely love the kurataki. So if we're looking at, now we've only talked about cake pans, we're gonna transition into tubes in just a bit. But for cake pans, this will be it. Now, this is not there is a travel size set. This is not exactly travel friendly unless you're gonna bring like, you know, a nice little case where you have all the stuff. So these are more like travel friendly, and this is more like having at home. But the colors are just absolutely stunning. So here is the kurataki, and the way that it just requires such a little water to really move the colors and to work with it is just beautiful. So again, And this, I want to say this particular pan was about $18. So it's not expensive. In the grand, as you can see, you're getting a lot more value of the amount of paints and stuff that you have to work with, and a little goes a long way. Add-in a few months ago came with a little coloring set, and these are actually artist grade, and it's just like a pastel set, and here's the swatches with that. So these are not a bad price if you can find them. They're not as easily as found as the other ones that I showed you, but I wanted to show you kind of like a different colorway that we were enjoying. But they're really nice. Like, you know, it's just like kind of different pastel dreams. And this is, and I'll show you on another time what coloring set this came with, because it came with a watercolor workbook that we were just curious about, so we got that. Anyway, so that is just the color swatches with that one. It's just something, you know, nothing that I'm just like, oh, okay, you have to get these. All right, so let's talk about the last two. We're talking about tubes, and this is where it's gonna get a little pricier. All right, so these are professional grades. You don't need much water. The tubes, a little big goes a long way. This is a tiny little bottle. I want to say this was around $9 at a local art store, and this is the Winsor and Newton. And it is a very beautifully rich color, so you can see how it behaved on this paper. Obviously you can see a different effect that it created. Really with this, to actually show you something, to truly do it justice, I have to do kind of like a bigger painting with it, because the color just kept, like, we could have kept dragging the color down, and it just kind of collected here because it's such heavily it's just such a little amount, like makes so much, where this kind of just spread evenly because we use more water with it, but here it's just not as much as needed. So the Winsor & Newton professional grade is a really nice color, really nice. My daughter really loves working with the Winsor & Newton ones, but she has a new favorite. So this is a bigger tube, as you can see. This is a 15 ml, and this is only 5 ml. So this was this, and when you buy them and which is mostly what artists do, is they buy by the individual tubes and colors, so they get exactly what they want, and that's when I get things a little pricier. This one full price was $24 just for this one color. This is Daniel Smith. You probably hear it a lot. It has about 250 colors to choose from their lot, and Winsor & Newton has about 90 as of last time that I checked. And Daniel Smith, like I said, you know, to really show what it can do, kind of how to bring this out a little bit further, because it's gonna sit there. It is not gonna be as even, just because when we squeeze out just a tiny bit, we get more than we want. So we're trying to keep it all the same size. So, but as you can see, this was just a tiny drop, and these colors are super rich. They're beautiful, they're gorgeous. If you have the money to get like a starter pack, maybe just like, you know, some primary colors, some earth tones, or whatever it may be, that you can mix and blend your own colors from the Daniel Smith. There's different collections you can get a set of. That will be an investment again, but these will last you quite a bit. This will last you a bit depending on how often you do your watercolor stuff. And then same with the Winsor & Newton. So these are gonna be a price with that, but if you're looking for some professional grade, these are the ones that we tend to love, is the Winsor & Newton and the Daniel Smith being our top choice. On to the gouache, just very quickly, we have and actually we found these on clearance. Check out the clearance racks at Michael's, especially, and in your local art supply store. You never know what ends up there, and sometimes it's like the top-notch art supplies that ends up on clearance, whether it's a different like colorway or whatever that is going out or whatever, or they're making room for something else and they've dropped it 40-50% off, like these were turned out to like $3 a piece, which is a steal for this. So these are Liquitex Professional Acrylic Wash, and these are freaking steady. So if you don't want to do straight watercolor and you want to like venture into the world with wash, oh my gosh, like I am so like mesmerized every single time I just see the brush like stroke through. So these are these two colors, so you can see that. And again, little goes a both a long way, and a tiny drop. You're not adding like water or anything like that. A little tiny drop, and then this was literally a tiny drop. And look how vivid and beautiful that is. Now, if you're going for that true watercolor look with that, some of that translucent feel, then you don't want that super vivid thing, then that would change your choices of what kind of colors that you, what kind of watercolor brand that you gravitate to. So if you want more of that lighter feel that it really feels like that light wash, you may go into a Koi. If you want something more vivid, you may go into a Kuretake or Winsor & Newton student grade, and then for professional grades from a tube for something like that. But if you love those vivid colors and you like for things to pop, maybe you like to gravitate to wash. Now that is going to vary in your techniques of how you're going to use this curricula if you go rogue and you do something like the gouache. Now I have water soluble. This is the newest edition. I had seen this around so many times, and we decided to give it a try. These are like legit made for kiddos, but you've seen a lot of like even professional artists using these all over. They're like all over. So this woody 3-in-1 art. These are chunky baits. These are chunky. I have the brush. It comes with a brush that I have right here in our little basin that we can mess with in just a bit. And these are so not cheap, but we decided to finally give them a try. I want to say that someone's channel, they actually sacrificed one of these to see how far down the lead goes. And oh my gosh, so this is not like to pop them out there very easily, but they're chunky. So if you have little kiddos and stuff like that, they can definitely use these. Obviously your technique will change quite a bit if you're trying to follow this curricula with a water soluble pencil. All right, so you're gonna change your technique of what you're doing quite a bit. So the water soluble, so it acts like a crayon. This is again 3-in-1. So when she sacrificed it, I believe the lead only went up to like here. So all this is just on the body is just like all wood. So because these are pricey, I wouldn't, unless you're super curious about these, I would actually recommend the Carandash, which I'm going to show you in just a bit. But here is the Stalo. My daughter really likes these. All right, so here is what it looks like, just like I said right here. And this is when you add water to it. So, and this little basin, we have shown this numerous times. And if you saw my daughter's, I'll link that as well, mini art studio tour and her learning space. You see that here, and you can put like if you have tubes of gouache, you can put in here and keep them wet from drying out. And she actually tested this out, my little slime spray, and it stayed wet, nice, and usable for 30 days before it dried out. And that's the one that she tested in there. And you can keep whatever color palettes that you are working on right in here. This attaches to that. You can actually, so you can keep that cover, and this keeps it nice and wet, and it comes apart like this. Add whatever colors you need, travel with that. This closes up right here. This holds your brush if you need to hold it outside of the water, just like that, and holds more than one. You can hold it on the side. This collapses right here, and get smaller, so you can literally store it almost completely flat, and you can fill this little thing with water. So if you're using something like the Winsor & Newton cake pan on a travel, something like this will help you travel with what you need to put your water, and it's nice and compact, but also great for just at home. So here is that Stabilo 3-in-1. So you see the way I'm going to manipulate this is going to be a little bit different than working with straight watercolors. So have some lines to worry about, some definition and such. But it can be so satisfying and so fun to work with water soluble pastels and such. It a little bit goes a long way. So beautiful. But I have some preference, and that would be the Caran d'Ache. Okay, so these are the Neocolor water soluble, and they look just like a crayon. All right, and they come in different sets. The pricing is not bad for what you got, I don't feel, but there are, you know, not inexpensive. I love how this basically, you know, like a crayon, it's such a smooth feel, and it just acts differently than the Stabilo. I always have to like slow down to pronounce that correctly, and I'll probably still butcher it. All these like German company names and such, I'm just doing a quick thing just so I can fill it with water and have some fun with it, even though we have it here. But you can see the difference. So I honestly would not spend the money on these. I would recommend the Caran d'Ache if you want some water soluble, and play with that a little bit. Look how easy this one spread. And then this one takes a little bit more getting used to, because it spreads more than sometimes you intend it to. I have like a bar right in front of me, so this is kind of really difficult with my overhead stand. But I just want to show you how easily this spreads, and how much dimension and stuff you can really work in this, and you literally can work for a while. Again, I'm not using watercolor paper. I'm using this mixed media paper because I'm not about to do test swatch on our expensive paper. So this is what you get. Anyways, it's such a freaking, I'm obsessed with the Caran d'Ache. My daughter really likes these. I don't know, it's just the feel, something different or whatever, but she does enjoy these. My preference is the Caran d'Ache, and these are so much more expensive, so if you're gonna splurge on some water solubles, I would go with the Caran d'Ache. Let's talk about some pencils real quick, and this is going to be very quick. So my daughter's preference, obviously you can use any pencil to sketch. I talked about this already, that my daughter will like literally sketch with an Office Depot pencil, and it's totally fine. If you're looking to upgrade and you want something super nice, the Blackwing is our boo. All right, so this is the Blackwing matte. She also has the Blackwing pearl. These are different. I have a whole review on this on our Behind the Art Studio Doors playlist. You can find examples and side-by-side comparisons with other graphite pencils. This is the Blackwings are the graphites from Japan. These are our favorite. This has a different hardness, which we go over all that, so I'm not going to spend time on that here. But this is the 602, the pearl, and this is the matte, which is what she prefers to work on. Now I just want to, as you can see, she uses it a lot. We recently got their sharpener, which not the one that she's using. This one definitely needs to sharpen, but it sharpens at a certain angle that only really this sharpener could do, and it's just, I don't know if you can really tell, but the point is different, and obviously it doesn't come to a straight pointy point like other sharpeners. You see how darker I can get. And I'm making these marks because I'm going to show you the erasers. So these are things that she is going to suggest certain ones in the curricula. I just wanted to show you our favorite, which is the Blackwing. You can buy them as a trio sets. That is a sampler. So if you don't know which one you prefer, I would actually suggest to start with these. They're not cheap. It would be like $18 for 3 of them if you buy it that way. That's linked in my store as well. However, if you know which one you like, you can sometimes score this on sale for like a box of 12 for like $28. These are, again, this is artist grade. This is professional grade, so these are not going to be inexpensive. But you can buy them by the box, and then that is a better deal than buying them individually or by the trio. Now we have some erasers here, and I will tell you, no, we don't care for this one. See? So you're gonna see some suggestions in the curricula. So I want to show you some difference. So that is the Prismacolor Magic Rub. No. Let's see for that. This is the kneaded one that you see a lot in our little artist circles. And it's not bad. I will tell you, my daughter does not really care for it. And just wanted to show you the erasers that come with the Blackwings are really, really nice, and you could actually replace them. And these come out and you can actually put a new eraser. You can get them by the bunch. Look how clean that is. Okay, so that is, I should have gotten her little brushy thing. Here is a Prismacolor plastic eraser, and it performs better than this Magic Rub. Again, I'm not a fan of the Prismacolor, but I know a lot of people like these erasers, so I just wanted to show you side by side. We still have like some of them. Now here's one of my daughter's favorites. This thing is like not even on it anymore. This is the Staedtler Mars Plastic. And let's even go straight to the dark one. Let's see if I can get the residue of that other one. So this one performed fairly nice. And we'll go into my daughter's favorite, which is the raw material one of Staedtler. And again, this is going to perform differently depending on the paper too. All right, so this is her current favorite, aside from the one that comes in the Blackwing pencil. And this still, the Blackwing eraser takes the cake a lot of times. The Blackwing eraser pencil is really nice. Again, this is one that's good, like if you you know, certain drawings and you need to like, oh, I need to erase this tiny little thing, or just create some shading. This works really well. But for like all the time type of use is not her favorite. And then this one is easier to find than this one. And they perform basically the same. All right, I'm still seeing some residue with both of them. All right, so I mean, none of them is perfect, and this is some thick ass paper. That, like, I can still see everything. I can still see everything. This is the freaking worst, all right? Do not buy this. Do not buy this Magic Prismacolor. How the eraser is gonna behave on this thicker, more coarse type of watercolor paper. So the eraser matters, because if you make like a big yucky smudge all over the thing is gonna ruin your sketch or drawing and all that jazz. All right, so for brushes, you can see that we have several different grades, from the very, very inexpensive Michaels multi-sets to the mid-levels to some professional to some Amazon fine ones, and a lot of these are for acrylic, so there's several different ones. I don't have it right in front of me, but this is the Winsor & Newton. This is for the acrylic one, but this is her current favorite right now. Now Winsor & Newton also has, which is the one I don't have to show you, for watercolor. And they have from student grade, which is more budget friendly, which is the same like that Cotman brand for the Winsor & Newton. And that is one that is also recommended by Thistles Biscuits. So the Winsor & Newton is, although the watercolor is not my favorite, the brushes are. So this is for the acrylic, and the main difference is that when you're looking for acrylic paint, you're wanting to get the synthetic ones because how it's more stiff and it grabs onto the acrylic paint and holds it. And for watercolor, you're actually seeking natural fibers. So with the natural ones, you can still get them all the way from the budget friendly ones all the way to professional ones. So the nice professional ones would be that we like would be the Winsor & Newton, but for the watercolor set. And then you can do the same student grade with Winsor & Newton for the brushes. This was all acrylic, and then some multi-set like budget sets that were level 2, not exactly level 1, and those were still very budget friendly that you can find at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, and such. So I just wanted to show you that we've gone through a range of brushes, some that we absolutely despise. So some of those are no longer in here, and then a different range from acrylic has her main medium is acrylic, so she has obviously more of that, but I just wanted to finish this video, so I'm not going to go hunting for the watercolor because it basically looks just like this. It's just a different color, and it'll be linked on my store as well. This is the Galleria, so this is the acrylic one, but the other one, the Series 7, those are pricey. They're like $20-something per brush, but if you're looking for a professional one, that's that. But they have Winsor & Newton as well, watercolors that are student grade and more budget friendly. So that would be like, just look at the Winsor & Newton ones. Precision is also fairly good too. You can look at some level 2s of that. Even level 1s, hey, they'll last you 6 months to a year, but hey, you know, it works for that long, then it's fine, especially if you're not looking to do this as a long run. So I just wanted to give you some different chats and tips about it, but definitely look for natural fibers versus synthetic when it comes to watercolor. And you want synthetic when it comes to acrylic instead of natural fibers. So hope that makes sense. Seeing the comparison, seeing all the things that we enjoy using with this, and seeing the different levels of where you can start off your starting tools with, or aside from what she writes and recommends, which is very detailed, very helpful, but just, you know, from listening to one family's favorites to another, I hope this was helpful to be able to see it and almost touch it. All right. Thank you again for hanging out with me. Let me know what grabbed your attention. Don't forget that discount code for Thistles Biscuit is Arlene20. Field journals, that discount code and link is going to be in my description box below with the discount links. Link tree that I have, so you can check all of that out. And these little doodads and everything you're going to find on my Amazon store that you can use for easy reference. Okay, so let me know your thoughts. Are you going to be trying this next Thistles Biscuit watercolor? What art supply was your favorite to look at? What other art supply reviews or tools would you like to see next? And until next time, we're going to transition to some more typical topics of school reviews, because I have a lineup of reviews coming of things that we finished last year and moving on to this year. So stick around with me. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Bye-bye.